This is another iRaw podcast.
Maybe part of putting down roots is admitting that you don't know the soil yet. Life wasn't meant to be one endless to-do list. Welcome to Wildly Unplugged, where we step away from the hustle and reconnect with the wild through stories of nature, conservation, and creativity. Let's unplug and see what develops. Welcome to Wildly Unplugged, the podcast where we unplug, get outside, and see what develops. I'm your guide, Lauren, and this segment is Wildly Rejected, aka Becoming the Bison. If you're new here, the idea behind the challenge is simple. Instead of running away from rejection, I'm heading straight into the storm like a bison. The goal is 1,000 rejections, inspired by Gabby Carr's challenge, because somewhere hidden inside all those no's, hopefully are some yeses, some unexpected opportunities, and lessons that I would have never found otherwise. Last week, I was writing about how this challenge seems to be changing and evolving, and it's not me asking, will you accept my work? Lately, I've been asking, where do I belong? There were a lot of firsts this week. Saturday, I went to my first Key West Writers Guild meeting and met a ton of wonderful people. Monday was my first ukulele lesson, and Tuesday I interviewed with Nancy Forrester to volunteer at the Secret Garden with the parrots. And already I'm starting to get a sense of community, and I'm realizing why this transition has been so difficult compared to others in my life. I had a year and a half of waiting for this moment and wondering what that was going to look like, and pop in and out of Key West, and I was already getting a feel for my home, but not a sense of community. And now that I'm here, the hard work begins in making all those connections and really, laying the groundwork and getting face to face with people. So it's been pretty challenging and pushing myself beyond those comfort zones. So also I figured out that where you belong also requires figuring out where you actually are. And this week, monarch butterflies humbled me. 4 years ago, I had just moved to Loveland, Ohio. Connor was just starting high school. We had friends over to celebrate, and somewhere around that time, I learned about Monarch Watch. The fact that you could have monarch caterpillars mailed to your mailbox and watch them grow and become a chrysalis, become a butterfly, and then you get to tag them and release them and participate in citizen science. I was all in when I heard about this. And it ended up being a transformative experience, not just for the caterpillars, but for myself too. So now 4 years later, when I'm living in a new home again, Connor's just starting college, and I'm officially an empty nester, without even really realizing it at first, I was drawn back to the monarchs because of what they represent, and that's transition. So I ordered some caterpillars and some Monarch Watch tags. Too easy. Except I live in Key West now. While I waited for the caterpillars to arrive, I went looking for milkweed. At one local garden center, I was told they didn't have any, and that monarchs, when I do find milkweed, they probably won't leave this area. And I thought, well, okay, clearly this guy has no idea what he's talking about. These are different monarchs. They're caterpillars being sent in. They're from a different generation where they know to migrate, duh. So we went to Home Depot and we bought milkweed there. Important side note, I am not planting this milkweed. I believe it's swamp milkweed is what I got, and it's whatever the milkweed is, it's invasive to this area. So I am not planting it. It is on my second floor balcony, and it's contained up there and is solely there just to feed the caterpillars. So speaking of caterpillars, we brought the plants home, and I discovered a giant caterpillar already, and then another, and another. And before I knew it, I had about 20 monarch caterpillars, and approximately 30 more were going to be coming in the mail. That night, I literally had a nightmare that caterpillars were everywhere in my house, and I had to watch where I was stepping because I didn't want to step on one, and I couldn't contain them, and I couldn't find enough food for them on this entire island. So I woke up from that nightmare, obviously thinking about monarchs, and for some reason, out of nowhere, my half-awake brain was like, wait a second, do monarchs even fly across the Gulf? Nope. And there it was, my first major duh moment living on the island. I had spent 4 years thinking about monarchs through the lens of living in Ohio. And while these monarchs that I knew made an incredible migration south, it's just not over water. And Toto, I am not in Ohio anymore. I am on an island. And the only way they have to get off this island is over the Gulf, over to Mexico. So I contacted Monarch Watch immediately and asked if I could cancel my caterpillar order and just let them keep the money as a donation. I love everything that they stand for, and I wanted it either to go back into, whatever they need the money allocated for, maybe for a classroom or something like that. So she emailed me back and said, yes, it's so nice of you that you're going to donate. We'll put the tag money towards a donation. And you're right, your caterpillars will probably stay in Key West, meaning she was going to use the money for the tags, which I think was about $20 as a donation. And then the rest of the order, she was still going to send me the caterpillars. And I was like, no, cancel the caterpillar order immediately. I'm like, they are literally going to eat me out of house and home. Thankfully, I was able to catch her in time, and she did not send out those caterpillars. It was like a day or two away from being sent out. So, lesson learned the hard way, and I am totally counting this as a rejection, except this time I'm the one who's rejecting my own plan. And honestly, I think that belongs in the challenge because the whole point is to collect 1,000 rejections. It's never really about collecting the word no. It became more about willing to try new things, make mistakes, hear information that I necessarily don't, want to hear, and learn how to change direction, change course, and stop treating being wrong like some sort of catastrophic event. So this monarch fiasco reminded me that while I may live in Florida and I did spend a long time studying species from Florida, I still don't know this ecosystem yet. And I have a lot of wildlife and seasonal rhythms of this place that I have not yet lived in before. Island life is different. South Florida is different. And the Keys especially are very, very different. So I have a whole new wilderness to learn and explore. So I've made a new commitment to myself. Once a week, I'm going to, at least, I don't want to put any more things on my to-do list, but I do want to get out and nature journal at the gardens. They're really good with signs and having nice places to sit and observe. And, I want this to be a slowly learn and just take in the environment, what's blooming, what's migrating, what stays, what disappears, what changes with the seasons, even if the seasons don't look like what I'm used to back in Ohio. Maybe part of putting down roots is admitting that you don't know the soil yet. The actual rejection news this week was just like one rejection that I got back. And this one was also a really long wait time. Another one that I had submitted as one of my first possible asks. It was from the NYFA 2026 Anonymous Was a Woman Environmental Art Grant. And another 5-month pocket of possibility is now officially closing. I know that I have to go back and look at some of these grant proposals because they had some really good ideas in them. And I still want to do those ideas, just maybe not in the capacity that I had originally planned with the grant backing it. Then on August 21st, I made another ask that felt much more connected to the direction that I'm headed in. I submitted one of my sea turtle photographs to the Sea Turtle Preservation Society 2027 calendar contest. If you want to view that picture, that's going to be in the Substack. The podcast cover is a picture of a monarch with a tag on it. That's from Loveland 4 years ago. That was a picture that I took. But the photograph of the sea turtle, that was taken in St. Croix in 2023, and I was snorkeling with Connor. We had been super disappointed that we couldn't dive that trip. I had been there about a year before, and when I went diving, we were practically tripping over sea turtles. They were everywhere, and he loves sea turtles. So I kept talking about how amazing this dive is going to be, and we both ended up being very congested. We couldn't dive at all. So we were very, very bummed. We couldn't go out as far as we would like, and we really thought we weren't going to see anything. Well, we did get to see one sea turtle, and it was feasting on some seagrass a little ways off, and it eventually came up for a breath of air pretty close to us, close enough that I was able to get a picture on my camera. And I love this image, and I've shared it many times. I've submitted it to so many contests, and it gets overlooked, but it's one of the more special pictures to me, because just feeling Connor, tapping me on the shoulder and pointing excitedly over at the sea turtle is a memory that I'm never going to forget. And I especially love how the light teal of the ocean contrasts against the orangish brown of the sea turtle. So I think it looks pretty cool. Whether or not it wins, we'll see what happens. And if it doesn't win, hey, guess what? It counts as a rejection. I also made another ask today. I reached out to Catholic daughters to become involved in the church community. And again, this one isn't about an art competition, and it isn't a grant or an award. It's, less about chasing the accomplishments and more about putting down roots, at least for now. So apparently those roots came with about 20 caterpillars and rapidly disappearing supply of milkweed. I am also a little bit behind on my goal of making 10 asks this week. I believe I made less asks this week than I did last week even, but I am totally okay with that. I have 4 big podcast interviews this week. I've already finished 2. I've got 2 more. I finished editing my first one on Monday. Monday was, it was a huge interview, and I'm very excited to share that one, but I'm learning a whole new program on Riverside, which is where I'm recording right now. So I'm adjusting to a new home, new routine, and completely new different season of life, and all these fun new toys that I'm playing with. So it's a lot of adjustment all at once, and I'm really realizing that it's okay to go at your own pace as long as you're still moving forward. The goal is still 1,000. I don't want the challenge to turn into another hustle culture checklist. Forward is still forward. And maybe this week really isn't about rejection at all. It's learning how to become a beginner again, a beginner at learning ukulele, at being a monarch mom, at being a naturalist in a new environment. 4 years ago, when the monarch showed up during a transition in my life and Connor was beginning high school, now he begins college, and I'm beginning my own new chapter. Only this time, the monarchs are reminding me that I don't have everything figured out. There are new species to learn, new rhythms to notice, new people to meet, new communities to join, and apparently some very, very hungry caterpillars to feed. So here are the stats so far for the 1,000 rejection challenge. Total asks 170. I'm quick math. I'm about 30 behind. And you know what? That's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I'm going to keep telling myself it's okay out loud. And I'm going to live what I'm telling the world that I'm doing, that we're not hustling. And that's okay. Accepted, I have 39. Rejected, 79. In review, 30. Emailed and waiting for a response, 17. Waitlisted, 2. And other, 3. Until next time, unplug, get outside, and see what develops. Wildly Unplugged podcast is a production of Wild Development Studio. The views, opinions, and statements expressed by individuals during Wild Development Studio's productions do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Wild Development Studio or its affiliates. Participation in any activities, expeditions, or adventures discussed or promoted during our content may involve inherent risks. It is strongly advised that individuals conduct thorough research, seek professional guidance, and take all necessary precautions before engaging in such activities or venturing into wilderness areas. Wild Development Studio, its representatives, or employees shall not be held responsible for any injury, loss, damage, accident, or unforeseen incident that may occur as a result of participant activities inspired by or discussed in our content. By choosing to engage with our content or act upon any information provided, individuals do so at their own risk and discretion.
For more great iRoar podcasts, visit iroarpod.com. That's IROARPOD.com.